We have gathered here today to explore what it means to be excellent, the fuel that propels all great accomplishments and the bedrock of a happy life. Picture yourself living a life where the unyielding determination to excel informs every choice you make and action you do. This notion goes beyond mere success. It encompasses an attitude of constant improvement and the pursuit of perfection in all endeavors. Basically, it's about being consistent and living up to your own high expectations. Come with me as we explore the tactics and changes in perspective that enable you to reliably achieve your best results. Come with me as I show you how to tap into your latent abilities, conquer your fears, and develop the self-control you need to succeed. Making the commitment to doing the best you can lays the groundwork for an outstanding life filled with purpose, impact, and accomplishment. You are about to go on a remarkable trip that will motivate you to reach new heights in all that you do. We can turn our dreams into reality if we set out on this journey of greatness together. Are you doing the best you can? I have a good question for you. Is the best you can do all that you can do? Although it may seem strange, the answer is no. Imagine lying on the floor right now and doing as many push-ups as you can. And let's say, for some reason, you haven't done any push-ups lately. So the best you can do is 5. But are 5 push-ups all you can do? The answer is no. If you rest a bit, you can do 5 more. And if you rest a bit more, you can do 5 more. How do you go from 5 to 15? If you continue with that pattern, it's possible to do up to 50 push-ups. Of course. How do you go from 5 to 50? So, how do you achieve that miracle? It's all about discipline. And it starts with simply doing what you can do. Once you've done that, you can keep working to bring your best to a higher level. Each time you complete an activity and rest, you are preparing yourself for an even greater achievement. But here's a note of caution. Don't rest too long. Why? Because weeds can take over the garden. You've probably noticed that children have already figured this out. That's how they keep things moving. They consider rest as a necessity, not a goal. The goal of life is not to rest. The goal of life is to act. Think of more disciplines. Think of more ways and means to use your own wisdom, your own philosophy, use your own attitude, your own faith, your own courage, your own commitment, your own desires, your own enthusiasm. Invest in discipline so that your talents are not wasted. In this way, the smallest of disciplines can transform your life. Join that small percentage of truly disciplined people and discover what your best really is. 2. Reaping a multiple reward. For every disciplined effort, there are multiple rewards. That is one of the great laws of life. In fact, it is an extension of that biblical law that says if you sow well, you will reap well. Here is a unique part of the law of sowing and reaping. It not only suggests that we will all reap what we have sown, but it also suggests that we will reap much more. Life is full of laws that govern and explain behaviors, but this may well be the main law we need to understand. For every disciplined effort, there are multiple rewards. If you provide a unique service, your reward will multiply. If you are fair, honest, and patient with others, your reward will multiply. If you give more than you expect to receive, your reward will be greater than you expect. But remember, the key word here, as you might imagine, is discipline. Everything of value requires care, attention, and discipline. Children need discipline. They need to have a structure built for them. They need to have boundaries within which to work so they feel safe and comfortable to explore and grow. They need to learn to recognize what is right and what is wrong, what behavior is acceptable and what is not. Children require constant and consistent discipline. Otherwise, they will feel confused about how they are supposed to behave. Similarly, our thoughts require discipline. We must consistently determine our internal limits and our codes of conduct, or our thoughts will be confused. And if our thoughts are confused, we will be hopelessly lost in the maze of life. Confused thoughts produce confused results. Remember the law. For every disciplined effort, there are multiple rewards. Learn the discipline of writing a card or letter to a friend. Learn the discipline of paying your bills on time, arriving at appointments on time, or using your time more effectively. Learn the discipline of paying attention or paying your taxes or paying yourself. Learn the discipline of having regular meetings with your associates, your spouse, your child, or your parents. Learn the discipline of learning all you can learn, of teaching all you can teach, of reading all you can read. For each discipline, multiple rewards. For each book, new knowledge. For each success, a new ambition. For each challenge, a new understanding. For each failure, new determination. Life is like that. Even the bad experiences in life bring their own special contribution. But a word of caution for those who neglect the need for care and attention to disciplines. Everything has its price. Everything affects everything else. If you neglect discipline, you will have to pay a price. All things of value can be taken for granted over time. That's what we call the law of familiarity. Without the discipline of daily and constant attention, we take things for granted. Be serious. Life is not a practice session. If you often tend to throw your clothes on the chair instead of hanging them in the closet, be careful. It could suggest a lack of discipline. And remember, lack of discipline in small areas of life can cost you a lot in the more important areas of life. You won't be able to clean up your business until you learn the discipline of cleaning your own garage. You can't be impatient with your children and be patient with your distributors or your employees. You can't inspire others to sell more when that goal is inconsistent with your own behavior. You can't admonish others to read good books if you don't have a library card. Think about your life right now. What areas need attention right now? Perhaps you have had a disagreement with someone you love or someone who loves you, and your anger prevents you from talking to that person. Wouldn't this be an ideal time to examine your need for a new discipline? Maybe you're on the verge of giving up, of starting over. And the only missing ingredient for your incredible success story in the future is a new, self-imposed discipline that will make you strive harder and work more intensely than you ever thought you could. The most valuable form of discipline is the one you impose on yourself. Don't wait for things to deteriorate so drastically that someone else has to impose discipline in your life. Wouldn't that be tragic? How could you explain the fact that someone else thought more of you than you thought of yourself? That they forced you to get up early and go to the market when you would have been content to let success go to someone else who cared more about themselves? Your life, my life, each of our lives will serve as either a warning or an example. A warning of the consequences of neglect, self-pity, lack of direction and ambition, or an example of talent put into practice, of self-imposed discipline, and clearly perceived and intensely pursued goals. Price versus promise. Our lives are affected by two main things. One is the price and the other is the promise. And it's not so easy to pay the price if you can't see the promise. I believe children today have trouble trying to pay the price because they can't see the promise. But no one would mind paying the price if they could have a clear vision of next week, next month, or next year. If we had the assurance that everything is going to turn out well, do you think we would hesitate to pay? The answer is no. But everyone hesitates if the future is unclear. So we have to do two things to help our children and ourselves. Help them see the promise and help them pay the price. It's much easier to pay the price if we can see the promise. My karate instructor, Mr. Ron, once said, "You can't believe the incredible feeling of walking down any street in the city without fear." Let's continue with the classes. I was willing to sweat. I was willing to push myself to achieve that feeling. What would you do for an extraordinary promise? The most amazing things? Deciphering the books? Would you engage in additional thoughts and disciplines if the promise were right? And the answer is of course. But who wants to read? Who wants to stay up all night? Who wants to test themselves if the promise isn't clear? No one. So do whatever it takes to discover what you truly desire. Once you have seen and felt that ideal future, that promise of achievement, you will be ready and able to pay any price. The time to act. Engaging in genuine discipline requires that you develop the ability to take action. You don't need to rush. It's not necessary, but you don't want to waste too much time. This is the time to act when the idea is hot and the emotion is strong. Let's say you would like to build your library. If that is a strong desire for you, what you need to do is get the first book, then get the second book. Act as soon as possible before the feeling passes and before the idea fades. If you don't, here's what happens. It's the expression of the law of diminishing intent. We intend to act when the idea strikes us. We intend to do something when the emotion is high. But if we don't turn that intention into action soon enough, the urgency begins to diminish, and within a month the passion cools. Within a year it can't be found. So take action. Establish a discipline when the emotions are intense and the idea is strong, clear, and powerful. If someone talks about good health and that motivates you, you need to get a book on nutrition. Get the book before the idea passes, before the emotion cools. Start the process. Drop to the floor and do some push-ups. You have to act, otherwise wisdom is wasted. The emotion passes soon unless you apply it to a disciplined activity. Discipline allows you to capture the emotion and wisdom and translate them into action. The key is to increase your motivation by quickly setting up disciplines. In doing so, you have begun a whole new life process. Here is the greatest value of self-esteem. Many people who teach self-esteem today do not relate it to discipline. But once we feel the slightest lack of discipline within ourselves, it begins to erode our psyche. One of the greatest temptations is to simply relax a bit. Instead of doing your best, you allow yourself to do just a little less than your best. Effectively, you have begun to diminish your sense of self-esteem in the smallest way. There is a problem even with a little negligence. Negligence begins as an infection. If you don't take care of it, it turns into a disease. The worst of all is that when neglect begins, it diminishes our self-esteem. Once this has happened, how can you regain your self-esteem? All you have to do is start with the smallest discipline that fits your own philosophy. Make the commitment. I will discipline myself to achieve my goals so that in the coming years, I can celebrate my successes. Keep in mind that the key to your success and happiness is your dedication to doing your best. Doing your best work every single day will lead you to success and open doors to countless opportunities. Your commitment to doing your best should be evident in all that you do. Do your best at everything you do, since you are progressing closer to your goals with each attempt. Rejoice in your victories, reflect on your failures, and press on with resolute resolve. You have my deepest gratitude for coming along on this path of enlightenment and strength. Doing the best you can should be a guiding philosophy in your life going ahead, so that you can make the most informed choices possible. Not only will you do remarkable things along this road, but you will also motivate everyone around you to do the same. Until our paths cross again, may you always strive for greatness, secure in the knowledge that your devotion will bring you fulfillment, influence, and extraordinary achievement.